The Miami Hurricanes have not won a conference championship since Larry Coker was coaching in 2003 and Miami was a part of the Big East Conference. Since joining the ACC, the Miami Hurricanes have only had two division titles. One was a tie, and the other ended in a humiliating loss in the ACC championship game against the Clemson Tigers, who then went on to be humiliated by Alabama. So, safe to say it, Miami has not had a fun time in the ACC. It has been a very rough ride for Miami fans and for Miami coaches who have cycled through four, including Manny Diaz, and three of them are gone. Three of them really did truly fail at rebuilding Miami into what we know as the U, in all honesty. So Miami right now is on a current downtrend, but this year they have a great opportunity and a wide open opportunity, put it that way, to possibly reach the ACC championship game and compete. Now, I'm not gonna say they're gonna win, but there is a possibility that they can compete and a slim chance to beat Clemson in the ACC title. Let me explain why. So, 2021 Miami, there are some changes on the staff. Manny Diaz will be the defensive coordinator, and along with the head coach, and I think that is a good thing. It is good because Manny Diaz under Mark Richt always had top 30 defenses, while last year his defensive coordinator led a defense that was 51st in the nation, which is nothing to be proud about. Their defense lost them plenty of games, and honestly, their offense is what won them many games, with Derek King carrying the entire team on his back. We'll get to him later. But Manny Diaz being the defensive coordinator, along with seven returning defensive starters, will make wonders of next year's Miami defense. I expect them to easily be top 30 or top 25 in defense, and assuming the offense stays consistent, with current offensive coordinator Rhett Lashley still being employed, I do believe that Miami's average margin of victory will widen and that they will win more regular season games, and you won't have many nail-biters. Last season, Miami had several nail-biters in which, again, Derek King had to carry them through it. This year, you're going to see more consistency, and that's what brings us to Derek King. King, compared to the last quarterback of a half-successful Miami team, the 2017 team, comparing his current stats in 2020, 2,686 passing yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, to Malik Rozier's 26 touchdowns and 14 interceptions, tells you a great deal of where this team's heading. Miami is figuring out the quarterback position very well, and almost 5 touchdown to 1 interception ratio compared to an almost 2 touchdown 1 interception ratio. Huge difference, huge offensive advantage. So Miami with the quarterback is definitely heading in the right direction, and including King, you have 9 offensive returning starters. So by returning starters and depth, especially with the recruiting class that Miami brought in, which was 11th in the nation, included a star quarterback and some star defensive players as well, Miami is pretty set entering 2021 easily. And that should be something to be exciting for. Now, the schedule may look a little daunting, especially with the opener against Alabama. But before we dive in deep to the schedule, Miami can handle any team besides Alabama. They can handle any of these teams. They have the potential. It just depends on whether Manny Diaz and his staff and King and the players that King leads, it depends on if any of them can execute. Miami, your only guaranteed loss, and I say that because I don't think Nick Saban has ever had a season opener in which he loses. I don't remember him ever having one in Alabama unless it was his first year. And he's established, Saban is at this point probably reached the peak of his success or is peaking at the moment. His teams are only getting better at this point, especially on offense. So if you believe you can go 11-1, and there is a possibility of that, it's very possible, and I could not argue with you, because besides Alabama on your opening week, you can basically go on cruise control against App State, Michigan State, and the CCSU Blue Devils, who aren't even an FBS team. That puts you immediately in a 3-1 position entering conference. And besides Nick Saban, those first 4 games, you should be able to outcoach all these teams. You'll have more talent than all of these teams. Your coordinators will be better than all these teams. You'd have to mess up badly to lose to any of them besides Alabama. If you're within 3 touchdowns of losing to Alabama or 2 touchdowns, you should rise in the rankings. That's just my opinion. You open up your conference slate, Miami does, against Virginia, who I believe has a solid head coach in Bronco Mendenhall, and I don't know if Manny Diaz is a better coach than Mendenhall is. However, the talent, the staff, the fact that it's a game in Hard Rock Stadium, I think Miami wins this one, and they will be 4-1 entering their first and only bye week. Now you go into Kenan Memorial Stadium facing the North Carolina Tar Heels after that bye week. This will definitely, in my opinion, be a ranked matchup, possibly a top 15 matchup, though depending on how bad the Alabama loss is, we won't know. Miami could be ranked pretty low in this matchup, but I think North Carolina will be ranked very high. North Carolina, this will be a test for both teams, because even though Miami will be ranked lower and is presumed to be far worse, we do have to remember that really the entire running back unit and some key wide receivers too on offense, Miami lost. They return basically their offensive line, some receivers, and Howell. They lost a lot of their backfield, and really just it'll be a tough game. And to say that North Carolina will just blow them out again, I think would be wrong to say next year. That's just my opinion, and it is a possibility, but just to say, to make that the expectation that Miami will get blown out by North Carolina, I think is a little unfair. I do think North Carolina wins this game because the home field advantage, and because I think Sam Howell and Mac Brown are a better duo, coaching and on-field leadership-wise, than De'Aaron King and Manny Diaz. That is my opinion, and I hope Miami proves me wrong, because I think college football is better when a team that has the history and spaz that Miami has is rocking and rolling and winning championships. But after North Carolina, with a presumed 4-2 record, again, not necessarily cruise control, but it will be a safe walk in the park. North Carolina State could be a problem, but with the home field advantage factor and the fact that, again, Miami's improving constantly, that will likely be a loss for NC State, victory for Miami. Pittsburgh is not the greatest team. They're solid on defense. They can be solid because Pat Narduzzi is not a horrible head coach, but I think Miami gets the win here. Georgia Tech will be a rollover. Florida State could likely be a humiliation bowl in Doak Campbell Stadium for Mike Norvell. I think Miami wins this solely because they're improving. They're heading more in the right direction than Florida State is, and Florida State has a very tough schedule next year, and that could easily demoralize them heading into this game. Virginia Tech is pretty questionable, and I say that because I don't know if they'll be tough or not. Seeing last year's finish, I don't think they'll be tough, but if they are, the game's in Hard Rock Stadium, so that should be a win for Miami. And then Duke, we all know Duke. David Cutcliffe is probably on the way out here in a few years, and it is what it is. So a 10-2 finish is what I have projected for the Canes. And here's where it gets interesting. Is a 10-2 is actually, you can have that and get into the ACC championship. And here is why. Here's why you can do that. Because that can't happen in a lot of conferences. Like the Big Ten East can't do that. The SEC, even the SEC East, mainly the SEC West, but as the SEC East gets tougher, can't always do that either. But the Coastal Division has Duke, Georgia Tech, Miami, North Carolina, Pittsburgh, Virginia, and Virginia Tech, as many of you, especially Hurricane fans, know. So, looking at all of this, I'd say Miami and North Carolina are the obvious 1 and 2. I don't think anyone else can come close to challenging them, and if they do, they won't be good. It will be because the whole division is garbage. So, assuming that, North Carolina, let's look at their schedule. So, Virginia Tech, they open up at Virginia Tech. That could be a tough game. That could set the tone for the season. Georgia State, Virginia, at Georgia Tech, hosting Duke, and then hosting Florida State shouldn't be tough either. They'll probably be undefeated or have only one loss heading into the Miami game. But they play on the road against Notre Dame, who, even though I don't think they'll be the greatest, there is a potential upset there. And then they play at Pitt and at NC State after that, including some games against Wake Forest and Wofford. So if North Carolina gets 2 losses, and looking at their non-conference schedule, the only non-conference loss that, in my opinion, is possible would be Notre Dame. If they get 2 conference losses, from my schedule predictions for Miami could easily reach the ACC championship game with 2 losses because they won't even be tied. And despite that, I think Miami will lose that game. If North Carolina, though I don't think they lose more than 1 conference game, if North Carolina loses 2 conference games, Miami is, in my opinion, easily in the running and the favorite to make the ACC championship game. Now, the tricky part about that, and the final part of this video, and of my opinion, is Clemson. How can Miami get over Clemson? And Clemson is a solid team, and they've been solid for what feels like a decade. It has not even been a decade, but they're pretty solid. They can overcome... Let's just say that Clemson lost a lot last year. Now, they do still return 14 starters. It's only 2 less than Miami. They lost a great deal of their offense, though DJ Uiagalelei, I think that's how you pronounce his name, he returns. He's amazing, in all honesty. But with a large part of the offense leaving, and the defense is still here, but a huge part of the defense of Clemson, why they're always ranked so high, they don't have any competition. And you put a solid offense against this defense, and there's a chance that you can kind of open up and really just tear through. Not guaranteed, but we saw last year Ohio State, they weren't better than their 2019 team, and they literally opened Clemson's gut and tore everything out of it. on defense. And 9 of those kids return. So the hope is basically, if you want to win the ACC championship, you can only afford one conference loss, and you have to play perfect against Clemson. And all of these things are possible. They're not impossible anymore because of what Manny Diaz has done and is doing. And I think that whether they win the ACC, lose the championship game in horrible fashion, or miss it, I have them projected to miss it. I have North Carolina taking the spot. It'll be a tie, but head-to-head victory goes to North Carolina. But regardless of what happens, they'll improve next year. I think that's almost guaranteed for Miami football to improve next year. Thanks for watching, everyone. Remember to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, and comment your thoughts below, and click the notification bell so that you get notified when my new video comes out. Thanks for watching, and I will see you around.